Portion this week means to conceive or to quicken with seed. And you see that as this Torah portion opens up, and it begins with the mitzvahs and the regulations regarding a sister who gives birth. And it goes on to people who have the issue of the skin. In the book of Leviticus, perhaps more than any other book in the whole Torah, it gives you every instruction that you need under the sun. Everything from how to worship the king to how to build a tabernacle effectively, to how to deal with your neighbor who may or may not be kosher. It goes through all the mitzvahs, one after the other, lesson after lesson. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But the first word in the opening statement of the book of instruction is man. The first words, as soon as you open Leviticus, is Adam. Because this, more than anything, is for you and I to carry these things with us as we journey through this venture that God has placed us on. And should we take up the mantle and follow after the king, here is our guide. This is for us. A lot of times people, they try and get away from the calling of God, and they say, well, you know, I've received, so I don't have to do that anymore. Or I'm under this, and I don't have to do all those things that were done way back then. But if we go to Peter makes an interesting statement. He says, for you have been called priests, a brotherhood of God. So there's no escaping it after that point. There's no getting away from having to be reverent to God, should you want to not be reverent to God. But if we go back to the beginning of the book of Leviticus, in the book of the rabbis, they say that the king was coming, and the edicts, they go out, they run up to the king and they say, do you want us to set forth your instructions before you get to town? Do you want us to set forth your instructions? And the king said, no. Let them first know me, and then they can learn my ways. And it's the same thing with our Creator. If you don't know God, you're not going to apply His ways to your life. You have to first develop that relationship and understand who He is and what you're called to be. And then you begin to see, well, how do I do this more effectively? It's all right here in Leviticus. It's all right here. It's not too far away from you. So within this Torah portion, it goes over the instructions of ritual purity. It goes on to mention the rituals of purity of people after it addresses the rituals of animal purity. Why would it mention animals before man? Why would it do that, right? Shouldn't we be first? Right? Aren't we like I'm the pinnacle of God's creation? Right? Why would it do that, though? Why would it do that? Why would it mention animals first? Why are animals first? Why are they first?
Because they were put here first?
Well, yes, they were put here first, but why are they mentioned first? If we are the ark of God's creation, right? His prize. Why are, huh?
We're all together creation.
Okay, yeah, but why are we listed under animals?
Well, because they're under growth. Oh, wait, okay.
We're all from the animal kingdom.
We're all from the animal kingdom? I mean, these are all good answers. These are great answers. Huh? Animal Man? The show?
No, I'm regenerated.
Oh,
We are supposed to take care
that's
of
an interesting
Maybe
theory.
because they're innocent creatures of God? Because we have a choice to do right or wrong, and we didn't do right.
Huh.
That's a very good one.
That's pretty close, yes.
So we're supposed to take care of them?
That's pretty close too. So it's for the sole purpose of keeping us humble. It's a humility thing. Yes, if we look at Adam and Eve, they were created, but then they were given charge to care for the garden. They were instructed to care for the garden. In truth, when God gave us the earth to, and He said, dominate and subdue the earth, He said, but you also have to care for the earth. You have to care for it. So it's a humility thing. And yes, very much, they don't have a choice to sin or not sin. They go primarily off of instinct, right? And learned behavior. If you look at a deer, it comes out, it almost walks within, what, 10 minutes maybe? As soon as it comes out of the womb, it can almost walk, right? It can pretty much run as soon as it comes out. That doesn't happen for us. We spend a whole lot of time on our back and our belly before we get to crawl, then to walk, and so on. I mean, a whole lot of time by comparison. If you put a baby human, a baby tiger, the baby human will be done within, a matter of, as soon as he gets familiar with eating meat, you're done. It's finished. So, part of it is, it's a constant choice for us. Unlike animals, however, we are the only ones who are invited by God to have a seat at His table. We're the only ones who are invited by God to partake in His Sabbath. We're the only ones invited by God to be His partner, His children, His bride. We're the only ones. But this isn't a thing that we should boast upon. But we should count it with all blessings that we have been chosen in this manner. Right? It's a humility thing. The Talmud says it this way. Human was created last so that he should not become arrogant. But rather, he must consider that even the mosquito was created before him. What? And my worst, the gnats, right? I can't stand gnats. He was created before me. That's all right, I gotta relax. Keep the humility. So it is implying that there is a certain humility that we must undergo, because we begin to think, well, I am the pinnacle of creation. You need to be humble, right? You need to be humble, because this is how these blots start to transpire upon people. But we'll get into that in a minute. And then the Tanya puts it this way: for the lusting drive of our animal side, the flesh, the carnality, is capable of lusting, but it's also capable of choosing the right thing. Amen?
Amen.
We're capable of both sides. We can fully pursue our carnal instincts, our animal instincts, and go all out with that and get into every depravity under the sun. Or we can say, no, I'm going to choose God. I'm going to choose a holy existence, a righteous existence, an existence constantly seeking after Him, and after being a tzaddik, a righteous person. So it is this, we are the only ones who have that, though. We're the only ones who have this. There was a video some time ago about a guy who went and he thought that he could talk to bears. And so he goes out to like Alaska somewhere, and there he is, and he's like, and there's these wild grizzly bears. I mean, the wild grizzly bears. And he's there talking to them like if they're 5 years old. No, Mr. Bear. And so the bear's passing by, and the Indians say that, well, animals don't necessarily like to eat food that they think is sick. So, they leave him alone. But then this guy thinks, because they're leaving him alone, that they're kind of responding to him. He says, I'm going to invite my girlfriend out. I mean, why not make the meal bigger, right? I mean, it's more tempting now. You not have one piece of meat, you have two. So, a couple weeks into his girlfriend being up there with him, they got eaten. They got eaten. And you can go and rent a video, and it's a whole thing. He sold his movie. This is it. And the point is, if you're not walking with God, your flesh isn't walking with God, you really can't command other flesh to do anything, can you? Or get into some other false concept. I can now stop it. But we have this unique ability. The bears, they were going to do what bears do. Plain and simple. Even the two famous guys in Las Vegas who raised the wild cats, the lions, the tigers, and so on, they eventually got mauled by one of those large cats that they have. Because at some point, the animal instinct that this animal has had for thousands of years is going to take over. You and I, we have a choice. We have the ability to take our animal nature and cause it to serve God. And that elevates who we are as a species, as people, as creations of God. Now let's get into the other half of this Torah portion. The psalmist writes, sharp arrows of a warrior, coals of a broom, and this is in reference to gossip. This is in reference to gossip. People can take a club and they can go to somebody that's next to them and they can batter them with it and so on, but gossip is a unique kind of weapon. Because gossip, you can say something, and if you're in Rome, it will affect somebody in Syria. It will affect somebody in Israel. It will affect somebody all the way in Texas from Rome. Gossip is the only weapon that's like this. It's the only thing that's like this. The rabbis, they say it's similar to anybody ever catch a broom or a mattress on fire? I mean, not purposely, of course, because none of y'all are into that. But maybe by accident, right? You caught a mattress on fire or a broom, whatever. Anybody do that? No? Seen it? Okay. So gossip is like this. If I set a piece of wood on fire, and then I go and smolder the fire, it's out. That's it, right? If you take a broom or a mattress and you set it on fire and then you put out what you think, you can pour water on it. I know I've tried. And you put water on it, you may think it's out, but there's still coals under. On the inside, they're still burning. They're still steadily burning. They're still steadily burning. And this is how gossip is. You can stop the person who's saying it, but once it's said, it spreads. And then before you know it, you have people who are looking at other people strange because they heard something. Don't even know if it's true or not, but they just heard something, and
Amen.
And that coal is still burning. And it doesn't matter if it's raining outside. True story. Ishka and I, we were a young couple. We had our first house, and I decided, right, I'm going to put candles everywhere. I'm going to put candles everywhere, right? Make it really romantic when she comes back from work. My day off, I'm going to set this thing up right. Put the pets outside. There goes the hedgehog. There goes the rabbits. The kids are at the in-laws. We're good to go. So sure enough, I have an okay night. She wakes me up. Honey, your kippah's on fire. What? Because the candle caught my kippah on fire. And I didn't know it, but the candle also caught the mattress on fire. And so we take the mattress, I put it outside, because it's raining. It should go out, right? I mean, it's raining, right? It's raining really, really hard. It should go out, right? Ideally, right? It should go out. You would think. It's like holding a water hose over it. It should go out, but it doesn't. Because it's layered and layered and layered and layered and layered of cotton or whatever, right? So it didn't go out. So it burnt what I sit it on top of, and the whole mattress and that thing all got burnt. And so when we took off and came back, that thing, the mattress, was all gone. And the fire department was, here's a bill. So we're like, all right. But gossip is like this. Slander is like this. It keeps going and it only consumes. This is why as kosher people, as godly people, and I don't care if you identify as Yehudim or Christian, it makes no difference. If you do not put out evil speech immediately, it will only spread. It will only continue to gain ground and to keep burning up more and more stuff. And I really like that thing that mattress was put on top of. But I didn't know. I didn't know that fire could consume a lot of the things that I cherish in my life. Gossip's the same way. It will cause us to lose relationships, friendships, people that we care about, people that we cherish, all over some word that was spoken in ignorance. We can't act on ignorance. We cannot move on ignorance. We have to move upon what God has instructed. When Yeshua the Messiah came to be born in the Sukkot, in the Sukkah, his mother Miriam submitted to the instructions of purification. And we see this referenced in Luke 2. When it was time for the sacrifice, she and Joseph only could afford a humble offering mentioned there in Luke 2 and 24. They could only afford a humble offering. Yeshua's coming was to undo the works of the evil inclination and to undo the practices of paganism, to undo all these mistruths and false notions, so that way you and I could walk in a more upright fashion with our Creator. He came to undo the works of the evil inclination and the pagans, manifest in disease, and to bring atonement and redemption and healing and return for you and I. Return to a godly position, to a godly understanding, to taking our heritage with humility, remembering that we were created last, but knowing that He has given us the ability to rise above all of it. The Zara'at, the biblically skin disease that affected gossipers and slanderers, rendering them ritually impure. Those who were not Kohanim could only analyze, yeah, you got that, all right. Yep, look at you. You definitely got that stuff going on. But they could not pronounce that person clean or unclean because they were not Kohans. They were not priests. When a person was considered this, what was the practice that they did? When a person was considered unclean, what happened to this person?
They're separated.
Separated. Very good. 3 people got it. Good job. The rest of you need to study. All right. So they were separated. They were set where? Like in a timeout room, in a closet?
Outside the city.
Outside the city, outside the town. Now, here's the thing. Did the people who had already been placed outside, did they gather with this person?
No, they were set alone.
No, they were set by themselves, right?
Yes.
There's a parallel between these people to a degree and the prodigal son. The prodigal son wants to go and behave in some ungodly manner, so he goes outside the camp to do it. When he comes back inside the camp, can he continue to behave that way?
Nope.
He can't take that back into God's house, right?
Right.
And so it's the same thing with the person who's gossip and slandering. He has to be placed outside, and then when he wants to come back in, he can no longer bring in that gossip. He has to leave it out there where it falls on no ears at all, and it dies, right?
Amen.
It's like trying to shoot a flaming arrow on concrete. It doesn't last very long. It just dies right there on concrete. It doesn't go any further. It says, he shall dwell in isolation. His dwelling shall be outside of the camp. The Kohen is referred to Ish ha-chesed. Who knows what that means? Ha-chesed. Well, chesed is your big clue there. Huh? You go, you're there. Ha-chesed. The verse? The verse, I said that one way back. He shall dwell in isolation. His dwelling shall be outside of the camp. Okay? But the Kohen was referred to as ha-hesed, right? Eish ha-hesed. Which, Eish is what? Man. Right? Man. Ha-hesed is of loving kindness, right? Because hesed means love in a generic form, but it really means love and kindness. Okay? Other people interpret it to mean mercy. But I suppose you can make that connection, because if you're merciful, you're going to be loving and kind, right? So there's that. You're not just going to, I'm being merciful to you today. It's not that kind of thing. But you're being loving and kind to people. So the Kohen, it wasn't necessarily that he had a degree in this. It wasn't necessarily that he had anything else, but he had the spirit of love and kindness within him. Because he had to have a level of compassion upon these people who had been slandering, or these people who had caught this issue of disease. He had to have a level of compassion for them. Understand that at some point in their life they'll get it and they will stop slandering and the disease will cease. Let's go back a little bit though. There's an earlier example of somebody catching disease from gossip. You can't do all the answers. Okay? I'm just telling you that right now. You have to let the family do some of them, okay? Miriam did it, right? Moses' sister, right? How was she healed? How was she healed? Huh? She was put outside. And at first they were going to put her out for like a long while, right? They're like, well, we're leaving her out there. That's that sister. We're setting her outside. But Moses pleaded for her that she be healed. Now, was she allowed back in? She was allowed to just get back on the gossip train?
Nope.
Oh, did you hear about Moses' wife? Oh my goodness. And forget it. I don't even want to get into Aaron's wife. My. See all them kids she's got? And those two? No, she wasn't allowed to get back in and continue in that manner. But rather, she was then to take up her role as prophetess and continue, right? Forget all the gossip, forget all the slander, forget thinking you know everything. Get back to doing the service God called you to do. Get back to that, get away from all the other stuff, and you'll be blessed. For a Cohen, the attributes of love are essential for who he is in the kingdom of God. And today we might not see a whole slew of Cohens running around. But for people who lead different pillars within the kingdom, we have to take up that attribute that the Cohen so highly exemplified in his walk. We have to reflect being compassionate, having love and kindness for other people, regardless of their situation. Even people who outright hate us or myself, we have love and compassion for them. Because we know as soon as that disease dies out within them, our brother or our sister is somewhere in there, in that person.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, the Cohen was essential to declare if this person was righteous or not, or clean or unclean. This is why in Luke, Yeshua, as soon as he heals the 10 lepers, where does he send them? Where does he send them? All right, let's put it in our context. To the what? No, not to the rabbi. The rabbi is not the priest. To the Cohen, right? He sends them to the Cohen. He sends them to the Cohen. To the priest, to the Cohen. Priest, the Cohen. He sends them there. So why? Is it that his healing wasn't sufficient for them? Huh? To be a testimony, but also following the instruction. Very good. This is the instruction of God. And Yeshua is not going to go against the instruction of the Father. He's not going to go against it. Believe it or not, he's not going to go against the instruction of God. This is what the Father wrote. This is what Yeshua does. Period. There is nothing outside of that. So he sent them there, and of course, we see that 9 of those guys are going to fall back into the same plight that they just had. Right? Because only one of them returns. The other ones, they probably got back into their old habits of chismeando. Is that how you say it? That's how you say it, yeah? Got back into their old habits of gossip and slander and all these things. But one went back to the Messiah and says, I have fulfilled it. I have shown myself to the Cohens. They have declared that I am clean. Praise be to God.
Amen.
Praise be to God. Tzatzah blemishes are spiritual blemishes. And yes, they have effects on our person. Just like when you walk with God, you're healthy. You're healthier than when you don't walk with God. You see healing. You experience healing. Not just physical, but mental and spiritual as well. Things in your life that were lost in disorder and in chaos now become to slowly come to order. They slowly start coming to order and start getting with the program. And no, it's not your program, it's God's still. So the sister is placed outside the camp when she gives birth. The gossiper is placed outside the camp when he gives birth. There is a difference, very much like when you do the study of the parallel between Lot and Rahab. Very similar stories, but their outcomes and their choices are different. So here we have the sister who's given birth to a boy or a girl, and she's to be placed outside of drama. That way she can have clarity of mind. There's a thing called postpartum that women go through. Because they need, during that time period, they need consolation. They need hesed. They need
Love and kindness.
They need clarity, right? They don't need drama. They don't need additional issues. They already have enough going on with what's just happened to their body. So they need that space to get themselves back to being whole. The gossiper is placed outside of the camp so that way he will cease to gossip. And he will stop that nonsense and he will get right and he will become whole again. A lot of times people gossip as a way to fulfill who they aren't. Right? They'll talk bad about this, that, and the other because they themselves are doing nothing with their lives. Or they're not satisfied with their position in life. One of my old people that I used to look up to that when I was training regularly, he would say, you have 24 hours in a day. You only need 8 hours to sleep. And that's at the most. The rest of that time you should be doing something productive with your life. Or you take out, say, 3 hours for eating, right? So you eat 3 times a day. And that's really, an hour is a lot of time. But then you still have plenty of time to do something with your life. You have plenty of time there. So we cannot put it off on something else or start talking negatively about this or that person when we have time to do something with ourselves. Because at the end of this existence, God is going to ask you, what did you do with what I gave you? What did you do? Were you faithful? Were you constantly doing the Texas two-step, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back? See, I do know a couple dance moves. Huh? Love you, bro. We'll do that later. So we don't need to constantly be stepping back. We need to constantly be slowly making the progress. Right? Even if it's an inch at a time, it's still progress. God tells us 2 things in His instructions. He says, be still and follow me. Be still and follow me. He doesn't say back up. Does He say back up? Does He? Come on. I know some of you here study. Does He say back up? Don't just raise your hand. You got it. Say it. Huh? Yes. A dog goes back. Are you a dog? Are you a dog? Are you a dog? Yes, you have one, but you're not one. Are either of you dogs? No? So going backwards makes no sense. He says, be still and wait, or follow me, right? That's it. That's it. Stop looking back like if there's something new back there. You've been there. You know what's there. Nothing's changed. It's all the same. The other day we were in the old neighborhood where we grew up, and there were some guys who, well, they just stayed there their whole lives, right? And they look almost exactly the same, but old. All right, so picture early 90s fashion, but wrinkled and gray hair. Make progress, move forward. Little bit. Hey, you want to go? No, I'm good, thank you, appreciate it. You want to come to service? I'll bring you a service, be glad to. And I love them, and I love who they are. But my prayer for them is that they make progress in their life, right? Do something. Your life is dependent upon what you do. He's already provided the salvation. So what's the point? As followers of Messiah, we're not to engage in gossip. As followers of the Torah, we're not to engage in gossip. As followers of the salvation, we're not to engage in gossip. Well, I just have to tell you this because you know them. Well, I just have to say this because you're a leader also. Just say, hey, look, that brother, he has a peculiar way about him. Leave it there. Leave it there. If the brother's walking in complete paganism, then advise the brother and then pray for the brother, but leave it there. Amen. Don't sit here and tell everybody over here what's going on with brother, because then when he does come to faith, where is he going to go in the kingdom if all these are judges? Where is he going? Are they going to see him as a brother?
Nope.
Or are they going to look down their shoe at him?
Yep.
It is not our job to be the Daily Planet or the Daily Bugle or SA Express or whatever you want to call it. We are to declare the good news of the Torah.
Amen.
We are to declare salvation to the nations. We are to present the truth to everyone. But presenting the truth does not mean expressing untruth.
Yep.
It does not mean that. I cannot sit here and tell you this is an Apple phone if it's not an Apple phone. It doesn't matter how much I'm trying to glorify whatever phone this is. I cannot express mistruth and justify it. There is no justification for a lie, or for gossip, or for slander. This not only, again, starts that coal in your life, but also, the rabbis say, within the three lives involved. The person listening, and the person that it's about. So it starts blights in three lives that are involved. And heaven forbid if there's more than one person listening. Then that's 3, 4, 5, 6, however many people are in the room listening to the slander. Do what is right in the sight of God. God says, follow me. God says, wait. He doesn't say go back. He doesn't say talk about the cancer. He says, wait, follow me, and do everything unto my glory. And that's it, really. But the good news for us is that any sin, any stain, y'all say any sin or any stain,
Any sin or any stain
can all be removed through God.
can all be removed through God.
That's the beauty of it. Is that we can all become white as snow again. And that necessarily isn't a color thing. That is a thing of purity. That you and I can become pure again. Even if we have just gossiped last week. If we stop it today. If we cease it right now. If we embrace those who are experiencing it with hesed. Just as the Cohen did. Then it too will be removed from us. Because whatever you measure out is measured unto you. Whatever you measure out is measured unto you. So, let us turn our thoughts back to God. Let us turn our thoughts back to His plan. Let us turn away from those who would gossip or do other things. Let's pray for them. Give them the instruction. Don't entertain idle words or pagan words. But practice the things, the ways of God, because you are made with His love and with a destiny in mind. God bless you and thank you.
Amen.